Deep listening is something we strive for. I believe, and I was sharing with Martine as we sat down, I believe that this one spiritual practice of deep listening is the one thing that could heal our world. From small relationships to big relations to worldwide situations, if we could learn to deeply listen. But what I've learned in my life, I don't know where you are, but I've learned that communication is not always easy. You know, a disciple went to the master and humbly confessed that he had the bad habit of repeating gossip. And the master kind of wickedly said, well, it wouldn't be so bad if you just repeated it. It's the improving on it that's the problem. You know, we do. I don't know. But don't you sometimes speak something that you think is really, really clear, and then it's not quite understood in the same way? Well, I've heard the story about this woman who asked her husband nicely if he would just go to the market to get a couple of things for her. And he said, sure, of course. And she said, okay, I'd like 1 carton of milk, and if there's eggs, get me 6. So he nicely went off to get his little chore done and came back and put 6 cartons of milk on the counter. And she said, why did you get me 6 cartons of milk? And he said, because there were eggs. You have to think about that one a little bit, don't you? Yeah, I get it. But so the Chinese symbol for listening, and I want you to really listen to this. The Chinese symbol for listening is the character of ears and the character of heart. The meaning being that to truly listen, we have to use our ears and our heart, not our mind that's continually going, okay, well, what am I going to say next? What's my response to this? How do I feel about this? What am I going to do? It's the heart. When you're fully present, wholehearted, and available and attentive to someone else, that's true, deep listening. You know, Rabbi Heschel said that faith is not an insurance policy. It's a constant effort, a constant listening to the eternal voice. And that reminds me of what James was, when God is all there is, the constant work at listening. And we know that we are actively listening when our heart is awake and we feel that we're building connections in life. We're, I might say, mending the fabric of our lives to know that we're all connected together. That's when we know we're deeply listening. Because when you hit that eternal place within us, there's oneness. It's that field I talk about from Rumi. Beyond right doing and wrong doing, there's a field where even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. It's deep listening. The problem I see, and I know I've been locked in that trap of compulsive thinking where I'll be repeating the same thing, where I'm even boring myself. But you do until you wake yourself up and shake yourself awake. We get trapped in the prison of our own limited thinking. And we keep repeating. I don't know, are we trying to convince ourselves that what we're saying is right or true or good? I'm not sure. But we get trapped in that circle, that prison. We're trapped. And as Rumi said, why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? We just need, when we feel that going on, we need to open ourselves up, empty out, and be ready to do something new. You know, I think, well, being in debate for so long, I think we can convince ourselves of almost anything. Do you agree? You can really keep repeating something so long you convince yourself it's true when maybe it's not. There was a woman walking down the street, and she ran into this man. She goes, oh, Henry, oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've seen you. You've changed a lot. You used to be quite tall, and I see you've gotten shorter. And you used to be well-built, and you've gotten much thinner. And I noticed you used to be quite nice skin, dark-skinned, and now you're lighter. You've changed quite a bit in these 5 years since I've seen you. Well, finally, she stopped talking in her compulsive way. And when she said, what have you done? He said, well, ma'am, I'm not Henry. My name is John. And she said, oh, so you've changed your name too. We can get so convinced that we're right about something, so convinced it's the truth when it isn't the truth. I look how polarized our world is right now. And there's truth scattered everywhere. Can you imagine if we would do the deep listening to come together and really listen? That deep listening is when we tap into that eternal voice within us, and we can feel it in the other. I read, and I don't remember where, but I love this, and let me see if I can, that when we really get to that depth of listening, we go beyond the illusion of the physical world, but this is what it says. We come to an inner place of awareness that is deeper than the thousands of years of collected human conditioning. It's deeper than the race-conscious belief that we get stuck into. There's something greater and grander in there if we can learn to listen differently. Listen differently. Now, there were two men walking down the street. I guess I'm into a lot of stories today. I kind of like that. I asked Kirk, I kind of got up in the middle of the night and I was thinking, stories. It's fun. But Jerry was walking down a sidewalk in Washington, D.C. with a good friend of his who's Native American. In fact, he worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And they were walking out. It was noisy. It was lunchtime, and people are bustling around. Cars are honking. It was city noise and everything. And Jerry's friend stops right there on the sidewalk. He said, a cricket. And Jerry goes, what? He said, I hear a cricket. And he goes over to the sidewalk and pulls the bush apart, and sure enough, there was a little cricket just sitting there chirping. And Jerry goes, well, how in the world could you hear that in the middle of all of this busy noise? And he said, that's how I was raised. That's how I was trained to listen. He said, look, I'll show you something. And his friend reached into his pocket and got out some coins, some nickels and dimes and quarters, and threw them on the street, on the sidewalk. Boy, people stopped and listened. What are we trained to listen to? What are we trained to hear? Were you trained to hear the goodness in the world, the kindness of people, the love? Or were you trained to hear what was wrong and not good? We can train ourselves to be better and to do better. There's a practice, and we have to go, like I said, you have to empty yourself and open yourself. But if you're feeling particularly, let's say, irritable, I know that feeling quite well, irritable or frustrated or depressed or upset, if you just withdraw, just for a minute, withdraw, and remember that there's a greater mind within you at all times, not some of the times, but all times. There's that something greater, the part of you that knows the truth, the part of you that no matter how many mistakes you made, how badly you've behaved, the wrongs you've done, all of that, no matter what, that there's a perfect person in there. And our goal is to make that what's on the inside show on the outside. Because, everything in this material world is a reflection. It's the law of cause and effect. Everything comes from the invisible. So we can bring out what we know is true and right and good and make it visible in our life. So let's say, feeling like that, and what you want is you want to feel peaceful. You want guidance, clarity, love, harmony, whatever God quality you want. It's just, okay, just I want, you've got to ask for what you want. So I want peace. So just know that God is in me now. God is in me now. And speak to that. Say, peace in me, flow through me and express in my life now. Love in me, express through me right now. Flow through me, express through me. Wisdom, in me right now. Flow through me and express through me. Keep that up until you feel a shift in what's going on in your life. A shift. So our call today is to practice deep listening. So there's 3 points to that. 3 points to our deep listening that I'd like to talk to you about. And the first one is, wisdom, intelligence, love, light, awareness flow in so many different directions. They flow from everywhere. They flow from other people. They flow from ourselves. They flow from the God within and around us. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is listen for greater understanding. Oh, that's easy. I can listen for greater understanding. It's hard. It means you have to get a control, a valve on that mind of yours. And what I reverence, dignity, sacredness. If you put those words in your mind, you can calm it down. Reverence, dignity, sacredness, connection. So when you're listening, you're not listening for the words you're going to say, but you're listening for what's going on in the situation, what's in the other person, what's really there. This doesn't mean you need a counseling session or anything. It just means you're listening because you what? Care. Because we're connected. Because we do love each other, even though we can irritate each other at times. There's a connection between us all, and that's what we're listening for. So you're listening for greater understanding, greater awareness. There's only really 2 emotions. I mean, there's many, many emotions, but love and fear. All the others kind of flow up from those. So you can listen and say, boy, is this person feeling fearful that I might just be a presence to calm them down? Don't need to say anything, just an energy. Or is that person feeling loved and I want to support them and be excited and energetic? So listen for greater understanding. That's number 1. And number 2 is listen without judgment. That's hard. So what I'm asking you to do is hard. It's not something that we just do. Listen without judgment. We're all on a path to going home. I love our little board out there that says we're all going home. That's you, Tina, isn't it? What does it say? Okay. We're all walking each other home, right? Yeah, we're all walking each other home. Some of us are a little better at walking than others, and so we need to support each other along the way. So if we can just not have to feed the fire of separation and anger and upset, but to just be there without judgment. If you don't want to listen to any more of it, you don't have to. Thank you for sharing. You don't have to sit there in it. You don't have to be there. I mean, it's your family. You have to be there for a few minutes anyway. But normally, thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to be. I've got things to do. That's it. And the last one is to be present and attentive. And I shared a story a couple months ago when Jesus was a house guest of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. And he had a good message there. He was the house guest, and Martha was being the perfect hospitable hostess, busy, just serving, doing everything, and just busy, not really paying attention to anyone else there. And Jesus said to her, Martha, Martha, you worry about 10,000 things. So few are needed. Indeed, only one. Be present. Be present in what you're doing. Be there wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. When we go deeply into the personal, we'll touch the universal. We'll touch that place, knowing God is all there is. And just take a moment and feel your feet on the floor, recognizing we share this beautiful earth together. And right here and right now, we are standing on holy ground.